Hey, what's up everybody? This is Joe with J Blake Photo. In today's video, I want to talk about the thing that we've all been talking about for the last 2 weeks, which is the new Canon EOS R5 and the EOS R6. But we've got some good stuff. I did a video last week about the specs, but mainly about kind of what I was disappointed in from the R6. And they're not the things that you would normally think of, so go ahead and check out that video. But one of the things that I mentioned in that video is going to get addressed in this video. So we're going to talk about firmware updates, delays, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the overheating issue, which we just got some new information about today from Canon directly. This was an official announcement, so that we have expectations about the R6 as well as the R5 and what heating is going to look like. So let's talk about that. Before we hop into this video, just really quick, go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in talking about gear and photography, videography, drones, and a little bit of adventure-y type stuff like hiking, GoPros, mountain biking, that sort of stuff. Also find me over on Instagram. I'm at jblakephoto, and like this video if this is the kind of stuff that you're interested in. I really appreciate it. That tells YouTube, that tells the algorithm that this is the kind of content that I should be creating and helps send more people my way, which really helps. As of the making of this video, I am, I think, 100 subscribers away from 8,000, which is just crazy. I can't believe that. And last but not least, if you're into mountain biking, I've got 2 links down below. One to my mountain biking Instagram with me and my buddies. We call ourselves the Mountain Biking Missionaries. And a link to our YouTube channel, which I haven't even uploaded anything to, but I will be soon. So if you want to get over there and subscribe, turn the bell on for my channel. That way you get an alert when I start uploading content, when we start making stuff for that channel. Okay, that's enough about all that stuff. Let's actually talk about why you clicked on this video, which is to talk about the Canon R5, to talk about the Canon R6, some of the information that we've just got from Canon. Some of this is official, some of this is rumor, but first is the announcement from Canon that they will be delaying potentially the shipments of the EOS R5 and the EOS R6. So from Canon Japan, we have a press release that says, and this is dated July 13th, we have received orders for the following products announced on July 9th that exceeded expectations, and it may take some time before the products are delivered. EOS R5, EOS R6, battery grip BG R10, extender RF 1.4X, extender RF 2X. We would like to thank you all for the orders we've received, and we apologize for any inconvenience caused to our customers waiting for the release. Thank you kindly. Look forward to your understanding. Now, we won't know for sure how much of an impact this is going to have until late July, early August, when the R5s are supposed to ship out. We'll see how many people are waiting for theirs. We'll also see at the end of August how far out the delays are going to be for the R6. Now, we knew going back to March and April that there would be delays both in the announcement and potentially the production of this camera, specifically the R5 and R6, as a result of the global pandemic. However, it's interesting that it wasn't mentioned or noted until, 3 or 4 days after they actually announced the camera. I wonder if they actually just had this press release just chambered, ready to go, but not a shocker, not a surprise. We knew that this camera was going to be super popular. It was going to be exciting. People were going to pre-order it. I wonder how many of those pre-orders are going to stick, how many are going to get canceled. We'll see. All right, so moving on to the second really big thing that we learned, which is that, and this is not officially released, this is leaks, this is a rumor, but the rumor is that Canon will be releasing firmware updates for both the R5 and the R6 pretty much right off the bat. I wonder how many of the cameras will actually ship with these updated firmwares. The updated firmware will include just a few items for the R5, some things of note. Number one, HD 120, which was something that I was kind of surprised it wasn't initially in the frame rate list. You had 4K 120, 4K 60, 1080 160, full HD, but you didn't have full HD 120. And so now that has been or will be added as a feature update and a part of this firmware. Also potentially adding a RAW and low bitrate mode for all recording modes. So that means that you might have 1080p RAW, you might have 4K RAW in addition to 8K RAW. The interesting thing about that is that if it's going to sample the entire sensor, that's still the same amount of information that it's going to be dumping into the buffer onto the processor to then be scaled before it's recorded. If the overheating issues are as a result of that computation, of that processing, I don't know that we're going to see that as a solution to the overheating problem. But tell me down in the comments if you think that that's potentially going to be a solution. Same thing with these IPB modes, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Even with the lower bandwidth modes, there's still going to be the potential for overheating, according to Canon, according to official notes that have come from Canon. And lastly, that this firmware update will be coming with an updated log profile, Canon Log 3. Okay, now moving on to the firmware that's supposedly coming for the EOS R6. Again, we don't know if this is going to be firmware that's going to launch with the camera when it comes to the end of August, or if this is something that we will get later down the line and they're just kind of getting it out to beat expectations. Number one, it will be getting that Canon Log 3 mode as well, which is great. And this is the huge one for me, that it will be adding all eye compression for all modes. My guess is they weren't sure if this was going to be a huge issue. They heard about it pretty quickly and realized, yeah, we can turn on that feature. That's an artificial restriction that we've created. It's got the same Digic X processor in it as the R5. It can do all eye in 4K 60. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Let's go ahead and turn that on so as not to just piss off everybody. At least that's my thought. That's what it feels like. I was disappointed when I saw that. Adding that really does change a ton. Again, the three things from my previous video that I was disappointed in the R6, number one was that slight crop, number two was the IPB compression in all video modes, and number three was the lack of GPS. I really like GPS. The IPB thing was definitely the number one. So eliminating that, pulling that out, definitely changes quite a bit for me. Now again, this is just rumor, but here's what's not rumor. We did get official guidance from Canon on the overheating issue, and it confirms what we had been seeing, which was, number one, there is an overheating issue. They do base that the magnesium alloy frame is designed to dissipate heat, but it can only do so much. With the combination of features that this camera has, it's bound to create quite a bit of heat. They've also confirmed that the base temperature for the camera that they did all these tests with to come up with these numbers was 73 degrees Fahrenheit or 23 degrees Celsius. They also said specifically that they did not include a fan like the SH1 in order to, number one, limit the size, the weight, and also to be able to maintain the weather sealing on the camera. Which, if you think about it, that makes sense, right? In order to bring in the air that the fan has to work, you've got to have an opening for that air. That's part of why the Cinema Series cameras have those fans, right? Because they're not expecting them to be out in the rain, potentially. So they do have an overheat function to try and keep the camera cool, and that is what will shut it down after a period of time. And they've confirmed that the recommendations, number one, are to turn the camera off when you're not shooting, to keep the camera out of direct sunlight, and to use a fan when possible. And they confirmed, that in 8K, both RAW and 30p, you're going to get about 20 minutes of record time before the camera shuts off. That in the 4K HQ mode, which remember, that's the whole 8K sensor being compressed down to 4K, so you get that super high fidelity, that one you're going to get about 30 minutes. I'm guessing that's going to be a super popular mode. And then the 4K no crop but non-HQ mode will give you 35 minutes. And of course that's 4K 60. But what's kind of new today is the fact that now they've included the R6 in that list. Whereas before we really only were talking about the R5 and the 8K, 4K HQ, 4K 60 modes. So at 4K 60, which is that oversampled 5K, 5.1K, 94% of the sensor width, you're going to get 30 minutes before you end up with an overheating issue. To alleviate that, you can actually choose to institute the 1.6 crop, which will get you 35 minutes. I don't know who's gonna wanna put that crop in for 4K when you could technically just shoot with the R and not have to deal with overheating. And here's the thing that really kills me. 4K 30p with the oversampled 5.1K on the R6, you've got 40 minutes before it overheats. So that's one 30-minute clip and one 10-minute clip, because remember, it's got a maximum of 30-minute, 29, 59 record time. As of this recording right now, I'm at 20 minutes. I'm probably not gonna go over the 29. I rarely go to 40, but who knows? If I decide to record something that's really long, or if I record something and I plan on doing a lot of edits at the end, and this isn't talking about the record time issue, we'll get into that in another video. This is just the fact that after 40 minutes, the thing's gonna overheat, and then you gotta shut it off for at least 10 to 20 minutes, and then you might get 5 or 10 more minutes. Now, in this room right now, it's probably 76, maybe 77 degrees, but I live in Las Vegas. It's nighttime, and outside right now, it is 86 degrees. I live in the desert, it gets hot, and I do a lot of shooting outside, so that worries me. That definitely is a bother, especially if I'm gonna be using the R6, especially if that's gonna be the camera that I'm looking for. So that's definitely something to think about. So I have not pre-ordered any camera. I'm gonna wait until Jared Polin gets this thing in his hands and tells me for sure what he thinks about this camera. Maybe I'll get one to try and see how we do. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on the delay, on the overheating issue, and on the potential for this firmware update. Don't forget to hit subscribe, go ahead and hit the like button, turn the bell on so you know when I put out new videos. Check me out on Instagram, I'm at jblakePhoto, and follow those links down below to my mountain biking channel, MTB Missionaries, and MTB Missionaries on YouTube. Although you're not gonna be able to find us because we've got no videos on there, so just follow the link down below if you wanna subscribe to us and turn that bell on so that when we do start posting videos, which will be soon, you'll get notified. Thanks everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.